Hello everyone and welcome to the Sandy Jones Show with me, Sandy Jones, and we are here today to talk about Chelsea. In fact, we're here to talk about very specifically whether or not Mauricio Pochettino is the manager to take Chelsea on into next season and beyond. Before we start with the video, if you are a fan of Chelsea, you have been through the dirt this season and last. You've had some horrible lows. You've had some ridiculous decisions, ridiculous tactics, mental results on the negative side. And to be honest, if you're not a Chelsea fan and you just like consuming football content from rival fans, then you probably loved this season because we've been a mess. We've been all over the place until the last few weeks. It has changed a little bit. You can see that there's been a slight shift in the chemistry of the team, the flow of how the squad is kind of playing with each other. The first time, I think, this whole season, I saw during the 5-0 at home against West Ham, really some proper fluid interplay that we haven't seen at Stamford Bridge for, honestly, like 2 or 3 years. I don't think it's been anywhere near that level for about 3 years. So are we on the up and up? I don't know. You tell me. Whether you're a Chelsea fan or not, I want to hear your opinion, whether or not we are on the up and up. Is this just a blip? Is this just something random that's happening? But what we want to talk about specifically in this video is whether or not Mauricio Pochettino is the person to take us forward into next season. So, if you want a real, plain, simple, crystal clear answer from me, my opinion is I'm not sure that he is the guy. I'm just not sure that he's the guy. For now, for the future, I don't think that we're going to be building a Mauricio Pochettino statue outside Stamford Bridge after him building a 10-year dynasty and winning us heaps of trophies and becoming a club legend. I don't think he's that guy. Would I sack him this season? So obviously we've only got 2 games left, but would I sack him this season? Have I been someone that's been thinking we should be sacking him this season? I was quite reluctant to do that from the start. I was probably one of the fans who was giving him probably a little bit longer than some other fans were. You know, a few months in when we were still doing some mad tactics, playing Colwill at left back, insisting on playing Colwill at left back, even though he's not a left back. And just the list is endless of the random tactics and decision making in terms of who's being picked, who's being dropped, who's being backed. I was very much someone who was thinking, okay, I do understand this idea of the process, right? Toxic word, the process, follow the process, understand the process, it's all the process. I get it, I got it, the process. But there was a certain point, I think it was around about Man U away, the game against Wolves, and then more recently, before this recent upturn in form, obviously the absolute shameful drubbing at the Emirates and those key points dropped to Burnley and Sheffield United. Those are absolutely unforgivable results. And it just felt like in all of those situations, we were set up to fail. It's not necessarily always the manager's fault. It's not necessarily always the player's fault. But for some reason in those matches, I just never felt like we were going to get over the line. And so to answer the original question, am I someone who was like heavily Poch out during the season? No, but I did have many moments where I was thinking, look, maybe someone else could be setting up this team better, or at least using the tools that we have currently to get more results, possibly. Having said all of that, the way that it's taken 34 games to get here, but it is finally looking like we have something of an identity. The players are somewhat together. It's quite a positive feeling around the Chelsea fans at the moment in terms of how the team is playing, how they're connecting with one another. And one thing that we can't forget is that the players, whenever they speak publicly about the situation is that they all back the manager and they all say that they're playing for the manager. So despite the fact that I pull the hair that I no longer have on my head out every single time I watch Chelsea this season, because I just don't understand why certain things are happening in certain ways, why certain players are getting picked, why are we playing Gallagher on the left wing? That is absolutely mental. Gallagher is a fantastic player to be playing deep in midfield, to be running around like one of those blooders in the Harry Potter, what's it called, Quidditch, just going in there, smashing it up, getting the ball, tackling, running, like that's what he's good at. He's not a left winger. He shouldn't be playing on the left wing. And I get that there was one game where, was it Man City in the final of the, no, it was the semi-final of the FA Cup. He played Gallagher on the left wing, and obviously he wasn't actually completely isolated out there on the wing, bombing down the side. He was kind of floating around and strengthening that left side. So I get why there's a reason. There must be a reason that he put him there. But it's just those little things where I just think we have 2 or 3 very good left wingers that we should be giving game time, that should be getting better. And I've seen, God, this video's all over the place, but I've seen enough for me to think we should, especially if we do get to the 6th place in the league, if we do get Europe, which is still a distinct possibility. It's absolutely crazy, but we're not that far off. There's 2 games to go. We could win both of those games. Other teams will drop points. Spurs have 2 really difficult games, and they're also in a real identity crisis themselves, to be honest. You can't be just all-out attack all the time in the Premier League. It doesn't work like that. If all of these things line up and we do get that 6th place spot, should we sack Pochettino and start season afresh with a new manager coming in, having a whole pre-season, and then taking the team on next season? Or do we stick with Pochettino and give him another year? He's on contract for another year anyway. So what I would say as my conclusion is, to kind of circle back to the beginning of the video, I don't think that he is the guy. I don't think he's the man that we're going to back for a long time. But I don't think that he's obviously doing something right. The players do seem to have some cohesion, finally. There is something of a tactical blueprint that you can sort of follow for most of the games. He's got an improvement on last season, that's for sure. Our home form is actually pretty good. I wouldn't say it's excellent, but in the last 2 or 3 months, it's been very good. And those are things that we didn't have last season at all. So if we make those European spots, has he earned another season as manager? Yes, with a massive caveat. So if we're going to stick to him, because obviously the other options are limited, we're not as attractive a proposition, to be honest, for other managers to come in anymore. So if we're going to stick with him, then we have to give him the full preseason. He has to have the full preseason. He has to, in my opinion, have some input on the players that are going in and players that are coming out. And I know this is probably another whole video that needs to be filmed for this channel about the transfer window, like in and out. What do? We have this issue of needing to comply with the finances and the regulations, and the way that the club seems to be going about doing that is by cashing in on academy graduates, which is, it is what it is. You know, it's not great. It's not a sustainable model, in my opinion, in terms of the football side of things. So I'd be interested to see what influence Pochettino might have, if any, on the selling of players such as Chalobah, who I think is so underrated. He's such a good player. Chalobah is low-key a Chelsea legend. He already is. He's been part of the club for this long. He's always been very solid. He's not like a glamorous, you know, wild player that makes all the headlines and does all these crazy things. He just gives you a solid performance every time. You can count on him, and especially if he's paired up with someone else that's really good, like for example Silva, who we're really going to miss. He's solid, and we should do what we can to keep him. So, what do we do with next season? Do we back Pochettino to have another full season as Chelsea manager, or we have a guest? Yep. Hello. Do we have another full season with Pochettino as manager? I would say, if you're going to ask my opinion, I would say he's done enough if we make Europe to get another season. But like I said, he needs the full preseason. He needs to have a say in the transfer window. And if I was him, I would do my absolute best to convince the club to find other ways, if there are any other ways, of strengthening our finances without having to sell these key players. I would keep Gallagher, I would keep Chalobah if I could. I know that they're pure profit, as it's called. I know that they're a kind of like a way out for the club to make some money when we need it. But there must be other ways to increase revenues than just selling these very good players. I mean, just look at the last few games. Look at how well Chalobah and Gallagher have played over the last 4 or 5 games. They've been absolutely fantastic. Chalobah's popping up with goals. Gallagher's doing exactly what he should be doing, lying deeper in midfield. Like this is what those players are good at, and this is what they should be doing. So more of that next season, I think, is what we need. But is any of this realistic? You know, do we really think that these owners are not going to sell those players? I have full expectation that at least one of those two will be sold. And who knows, maybe there'll be other random successful squad players that are sold. Why wouldn't they? If the goal is to make financial moves and to make things more sustainable, then why wouldn't you sell more of your assets? Would they sell someone like, I don't know. I mean, the name coming to my mind is Palmer. Like, of course they wouldn't sell Palmer, but because what a season he's had. But if someone came in with 150 million or 200 million, would they say yes to that? Potentially. I don't know. So my answer, this is a very long-winded answer, but what I'm saying is we should give him another season. He should have some input in the off-season in terms of transfers, keeping the team that's gelling with him, and he should have the full pre-season to be able to, jiggle around the current squad, all the loan players that would be coming back. We know he doesn't like Ian Maatsen, but there he is, playing absolutely amazing and getting Dortmund to a Champions League final. Are we really going to overlook Ian Maatsen as an option for the left side? Just seems absolutely mad. So I'd like to see him with all of the players and making those kind of key decisions before next season. But this is the massive caveat, right? I think that he should be given, if we get Europe this year, he should be given all of that time, all of the preseason, and then the first 6 games. Let's start with 6 games. Let's do a review after the first 6 games. If after 6 games we're seeing things like random centre-backs playing left back, or deep-lying midfielders on the wing, or Cassidy on the right wing, or we're seeing, a completely not gelled together team like we did at the start of this season, I don't think he's going to get a whole 12 months to steady the ship again. He's got a very short window of time from the start of the season, in my opinion, 5-6 games, to make sure that we all know that what is happening is the right way. We should be winning 4 out of those 6 games with maybe 2 draws. We can't be dropping crazy points. We can't be losing games, and you can't be dropping points, especially at home at the start of the season, or else it's just, in the Premier League, it's too late. You need to start strong. So to round it off, no, I don't think he's the person forever and ever. Yes, I think he could be a good transitional manager, especially to get us from the Abramovich era into this new Clear Lake era. We've had some ridiculously turbulent times. We've had some of the lowest lows that I think Chelsea fans of a certain generation, you know, like 35 years old or under, probably the lowest points. People who weren't around for the, you know, Division Two in the 80s, but you know, our parents might say, oh, this isn't as bad as it used to be, but you got to think about like the younger crowd, especially people who are like 20, 25. They've not seen these kind of lows before. So if Pochettino can be the guy that can pull us out of those lows and at least maybe set us up with some kind of a structure, some kind of an identity, and then if he can continually do that, like let's say next season is actually a success, we get Europe this season, even if it's Conference League, whatever it is, we have a decent summer, we keep some of the talents, we sell some of them, we bring in some leadership, not just 17-year-old wonder kids from, you know, Honduras or something, but actual tried and tested, younger, but like, I don't know, mid-20s players who have leadership skills that can come in and bolster the team. And then next season we hit the ground running and we win 5 from 6 in our first 6 games. I think that would be a massive, massive step forward. And then we can go from there. And then if by Christmas we're kind of up and about the top 4, if things are going well, then I'd be totally pro negotiating that he stays on another year. But to the point where we are now, it's taken 34 games to get something consistent out of these players. And I can't help but feel like someone else would have been able to do that quicker. You know, he sort of contradicted himself a lot in the pre and post match interviews and the updates. You know, saying one thing one week and then another thing the other. So I'm hopeful. I'm like a positive thinker generally. I'm hopeful that all of this is kind of part of his montage to being like the main man for at least this season and next. But I don't know. I just don't know. So a bit of a roundabout, long-winded way to get to the end there. But I hope you enjoyed this video. One of the things that has made this season bearable is it's actually the first season that I, as a fan, have got into the YouTube Chelsea rabbit hole, as it were. And it's honestly made it palatable to go through these ups and downs, kind of refreshing every day, seeing what everyone's saying. So it's really an honor and a pleasure to be part of it now. Thank you very much for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're enjoying this content. There's going to be loads more happening on this channel. Make sure the notifications are on, and win or lose, up the blues. See you next time.